It's the Nittany No Huddle podcast from the Nittany No Huddle studios.
Welcome to this week's Nittany No Huddle. Today we're going to cover the last weekend's college football games as well as Penn State versus Iowa. I'm going to turn it over to Devin right away. Give me an idea of what you saw this weekend from Penn State. I know we have a lot to talk about as far as our offense and what happened out there with the Clifford injury. So we'll start from the beginning and we'll just kind of let each other rant because that's pretty much what it's going to be. So, Devin, give me your thoughts.
Initial thoughts right off the bat. Obviously, very disappointing. It's pretty sad that losing one player can affect us in such a negative way, especially when that player is Sean Clifford, who we've been roasting for the last 3 years before this year. Obviously, he's played really well this year, and I think it goes to show what type of team we would be if he was not here. So maybe we should back off on some of that criticism from the past couple of years, but just initial thoughts, very, very disappointing. Iowa's not better than us. I don't think. Iowa's not better than us. Iowa's not a top 2 team in the nation, even though they will be after this week and even are in my rankings because there's nobody else right now. But I think that's probably the most disappointing thing is that if Penn State would have won that game, if Sean Clifford doesn't get hurt, I think Penn State wins by 2 more touchdowns the way they were playing. I could have easily been 31-14 or something like that, and Penn State would obviously be the number 2 team in the country. So I think that's probably my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do disagree, though. I think we would have been number 1 because if we beat Iowa, the number 3 team in the country, by 2-3 scores, who else has a better resume? Like, I don't care what Georgia did this weekend. Like, I think you would see us move up. But the fact that Iowa's even at 2 is just it shows that they don't actually watch the games. They just look at the box score, because if you watch that game, there's no way you could move Iowa up. I mean, and maybe it's just because everybody else sucks too.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's just everybody sucks.
I mean, who are you gonna put in there, right?
Right. So, like, you're gonna put Cincinnati at number 2? No.
Yeah. No.
I mean, and you're not gonna put. I mean, Michigan looked bad. Obviously, we'll get to all this, but right now, Iowa's the number 2 team in the nation because everyone else sucks.
Yeah, and after seeing Clifford go down like that and how the rest of our team played after that, like, holy shit, Clifford should win the Heisman, right? Like, clearly he's the only thing helping our team at all. Dotson was even on the field. Like, we didn't really see him after Clifford went down, and just kind of sucked the life out of us. And I'll turn it over to Zach because I know he's going to want to talk about all those false start penalties.
Yeah, so I know we're going to get into a lot of the in-game action, so maybe I'll just kind of start with something big picture, sort of set the tone, and then we can dive right into some of the in-game action. But I think if you're a Penn State fan, the takeaway from this game, and I'm sort of like looking forward here, is you can simultaneously be thinking, oh my God, it's going to get really bad here. Because I think if Clifford is out for an extended period of time, it has the potential to get really bad. I think you see that offense that we saw in the second half, last 2.5 quarters of that game, and I don't think you can pencil Rutgers in as a win. I don't think you can pencil at Maryland in as a win. Maybe you're good enough to beat Illinois with just about like pull somebody out of the stands and play quarterback, but all of a sudden,
isn't that what we did?
Well, just about maybe. But the flip side is if Clifford's healthy and he's good to go, not a whole lot changes. If you're trying to make the playoff, it's kind of still right there in front of you. And at Ohio State, Michigan at home, at Michigan State is an absolute gauntlet. But as far as the Big Ten East goes, and really the key to making the playoffs is you got to win the East. I think no matter what, if we don't win the East, Ohio State does, and we're just not going to – we don't have the type of pool to be – even though I think it's a possibility to have two Big Ten East teams in the playoffs. So the road still kind of goes and always was going to go through Columbus. The only thing an Iowa win would have given us is that chance at maybe 11-1 with a sole loss to Ohio State, who wins the division and then wins the conference. But if Clifford's healthy, I think what you take away from that game is we're as good as anybody in the country, or certainly better than Iowa. So it's one of those things where sort of Jekyll and Hyde right now, because this season could go south really, really quick. Or Clifford's able to come back in a week or two and the playoff is still on the table. That's a sort of the entire spectrum. and we just won't know for a couple weeks. And I think that's going to be the frustrating thing for Penn State fans is I don't expect to get much by way of updates from Franklin.
I don't think he's going to talk at all about the Clifford injury. In regards to Iowa, there's a real chance that we get to play them again. And, if we run the East, Big Ten title game could easily look Iowa-Penn State rematch. And if Clifford's healthy, I think we could absolutely blow the doors off that. I mean, we're a field goal away. We're one mistake away from winning that game and not having any offense the whole second half. It's pretty crazy. So clearly Iowa is overrated. But we'll go through the game. Running game, pretty much non-existent. Noah Kane, another goose egg for him. I saw Lovett was hurt. He barely played. That really hurt us. Our running game was just terrible. So
I'll jump in on that point because what I find interesting is we actually get rushed for three less yards than Iowa on 12 less carries. Now, it's a little bit skewed because we had more sacks than Iowa did, and for some dumb reason, college football includes sack yardage and rushing. But all that to say, even Iowa's vaunted offensive line and run game really didn't deliver. I mean, they had 110 yards on 45 carries. You can probably add maybe 10, 15, 20 yards into that from the sack yardage. I don't have the sacks in front of me, but all that to say, they didn't gain more than 3 yards a carry, which is basically what we had. We had 33 carries for 107 with 302 a carry. Interestingly enough, in the first half, Clifford had 3 carries for 36 yards and ended the game as our leading rusher, which is pretty disastrous, but we did eke out some yards on the ground. And I think with Clifford at quarterback, the running game that we had going was going to be enough. We just needed a little bit. We just needed to kind of keep him honest with the run game because I think we were starting to get into a groove with the pass game. And then once he goes down and once Iowa took a drive or two to figure out, hey, this Roberson kid is not accurate, but he can run. And so I think they kind of game planned around that and just sort of took away the things that we potentially would have been able to do.
Yeah, Zach, I think you hit that square on the head. There's the thing that stands out to me, not just from watching the game, but from looking at the box score. As soon as I went down to our rushing game and Sean Clifford on 3 carries was our leading rusher for the game, it's just like, kill me now. Like, what? Why can we not run the ball? And I like you said, the first half, I think with Clifford in there, we were doing just enough to get by. We had a tolerable running game, just enough to let Clifford be able to throw the ball a little bit. But as soon as Clifford went down, there was no chance we were going to run the ball because Roberson can't throw. So it's just a terrible combination, and we still only lost the game by 3 points.
But wait, there's more. Of our 107 rushing yards, again, Clifford led with 3 carries. He had a 22-yard run, and Roberson had it looks like his longest was 10. I think he had 2 10-yard runs in the second half.
Sounds right.
The longest run we had from a running back was 6 yards. Noah Kane Lee had 10 carries for 30 yards. The longest was 6. Noah Kane had 8 carries for 15 yards. The longest was 3.
So it's awful. It's terrible.
We were picking up some 2 and 3 yard chunks, but we certainly weren't getting much more than that.
And with that, that's what pissed me off is like, all right, we have a mobile quarterback in. You can't really throw the ball. Of all the times to not run your read option sets that we run all the time, then you decide to line him up in the shotgun and just let him sling it. Like, why? Why? It's so dumb. And then we're running hurry up. We're winning. We're winning. There's like 8 minutes left, and we're running hurry up.
Yeah,
why?
That really frustrated me, and I think frustrated a lot of. I know, I was watching the game with my dad, who's a real old school Paterno era defense first style fan, and it became quickly apparent, I think even before halftime, that the only way we were winning that game was the defense just playing a phenomenal second half. So when you get in halftime with your coaches there, the whole game plan has to resolve around what can we do to put our defense in the best possible position to win this game for us. And even if that means get in the I form, three plays, 3 run plays and punt. Use every second of the play clock and punt, and give your defense a chance.
Sorry,
go
Zach,
ahead. No, go ahead, Devin.
I was just going to echo what you were saying. Is I just wanted to punch my TV because our defense proved that I think they're better defense than Iowa. I think they're the best defense in the country. And instead of helping our defense, all we did was hurt them by doing stupid things on offense.
Yeah, the drive that sticks out to me is and this is an example of good coaching on the other side. It was 3rd and 10. We threw 3 straight incompletions with Roberson. It might have been in the third quarter. And on the 3rd down play, we chop blocked, 15-yard penalty. And the announcers, who I have to say, I'm usually a fan of Klatt and Johnson. They were just horrendous. But anyway, they were like, why would Kirk Ferentz decline that penalty and make it 3rd and 25 instead of 4th and 10? Well, they gained 15 yards from the penalty alone, and then we proceeded to have 3 false starts in a row. Next thing you know, we're punting. Our punter is in the back of the end zone punting, and it gets back to what. And I don't like to pat myself in the back too often, but we talked about this before the game. I said if we can just let Jordan Stout do his thing and make Iowa have to drive the ball 80 yards every drive, they're not going to score touchdowns. But what the entire second half was Jordan Stout punting from his in the shadows of the goalposts. And frankly, he had a ton of great punts. That's one thing that kind of went unnoticed, is he had some great punts from the back of the end zone. But even so, even with a great punt, Iowa's still starting the ball on the 50. And it's tough to put your defense in that position where it's basically, if they give up 2 first downs, it's field goal range.
Yeah, Zach. And they were like just literally like jerking it to Iowa's punter. Iowa's punter had like 9 punts, averaged like 45 yards per punt. Jordan Stout.
But there's a point of that, though.
Yeah. Well, they were also closer.
Yeah.
So
right.
Go ahead, finish your thought, but then I have the drive chart up, which is what I was going to talk about next.
But there was 5. He had Jordan Stout had 5 punts and averaged 56 yards a punt, punting out of his end zone 4 of those, which is crazy.
Yeah, he was.
That is crazy.
That's something that didn't get talked about. Is I think he largely kept Penn State in the game. And again, it's that complementary football that we talked about last week. That great defense, great punter, and if you can combine those things and just get enough offense, you can win with just that. And that's basically what Iowa did. Devin, I know we kind of jumped into the drive chart you have up.
Yeah, when I look at the box chart or the box score, the drive chart is one thing that I always like to look at, even for other games around the nation, try to see how the game went. You look at Iowa's starting drives, and in the fourth quarter, here's where they started with the ball. Midfield, Penn State's 45, their own 45, Penn State's 40, and Penn State's 11, obviously, there when we went for it on 4th down. But that's just in the fourth quarter when we were still ahead entering the fourth quarter, right? Or were we tied? I've drawn a blank here.
We were still ahead.
Yeah, we were ahead entering the fourth quarter, and we're letting them start 5 drives basically at midfield or better. Meanwhile, our second half drive chart, we started at the 25 on the kickoff, obviously, the 32, the 25, the 1, the 25, the 25, the 8, and the 8. All deep in our territory. And yeah, I get what you're saying. Jordan Stout had a really, really good game that no one's ever going to talk about because Penn State lost and because we couldn't fully flip the field. But without him, we give up 40 points just because our defense is on the field relentlessly and only has to go 30 yards or whatever. So
right.
I get what you're saying.
What was the time of possession too? If you have that up,
I think it was
second. I think it was like 38 to like 28 or something.
35 to 24, 36 to 24.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I mean, a lot of times when you have college punters punting from the back of their end zone, oftentimes it's caught or fair caught or goes out of bounds at like your own 40. And the other team is like almost in field goal range just when they start the drive. So yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think Jordan Stout was awesome. And again, I think going forward, if Clifford's healthy, you feel like you've got a great defense and you've got a great punter. So if the offense can just score some points, but also just kind of stay out of the way and not throw a bunch of interceptions and not go backwards on penalties, that's a huge recipe for success.
Yeah, and if we don't throw that stupid pass on the first play of the game, well, we win that game, or at least go to overtime.
Yeah, and that's one I was thinking about today, and I wanted to talk about.
Just give me nightmares.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams come out and they have the first drive scripted, and I wonder if that's one of those situations where they just come out and they have the first drive scripted, and Iowa's punter pins us inside of our 5. And sometimes I think in that situation you need to say, all right, the plan's out the window. Let's try to get like one first down here at least and punt. I never like a rollout in the end zone. It's just terrible.
It's too risky.
Because if one lineman gets just beat a little bit and he grabs a jersey while on a rollout, those holdings are really obvious on those types of rollout plays. You get a safety just for a holding, or you get a blitzing linebacker, which is what happened, that blows the whole play up. And I think Clifford just kind of got his legs hit by that linebacker as he was throwing. I mean, at the end of the day, he should have just sailed it into the stands over the receiver's head. But
I honestly think that's what he was trying to do. But when he got hit, it
his
threw
legs,
the ball down, so he had nothing on it.
His legs got taken out.
But I mean, that's just a terrible play design.
And
throwing to the outside inside your own 20 is stupid anyways. So we're lucky that didn't go to the house. Like if that guy just catches it and runs with it, that's a touchdown. So.
Yeah, he kind of like fair caught that one. But
yeah,
I'll say two things also, going back to Devin referenced in the last podcast. And I kind of I wasn't on the same page, but I think this might have been an interesting time to take a shot there. Like if you want to throw the ball out of your end zone, you want to try to maybe catch him off guard. Maybe that's where you take a shot, but at least something down the field, maybe a 5-step drop and just chuck a deep ball. The rollout, throwing all the way to the sideline, just I don't like it. And I wonder, like I said, if it's one of those things that was just kind of scripted and they're like, all right, it's our first drive. Let's go out and run the plays that we talked about in the locker room. And then when you're inside your own 5, you maybe need to just kind of throw that out the window.
Yeah, you just on first down, you go QB sneak. Second down, you hand it off to the running back. If we had a fullback, you would hand it off to the fullback. And on third down, then you hand it off out to the running back, see if he can bounce one outside, pick up the first down. If not, you punt it because you know your defense is going to stop them. Again, back to that drive chart, Iowa's first half drives, 26 yards, -8 yards, -3 yards, 4 yards, 30 yards. Obviously, the touchdown, 75 yards, 22 yards, 8 yards, 15 yards. That's their first half. Our defense just dominated. You have to believe in the defense. There's no point in trying to roll out there. You just QB sneak it once or twice, you hand it to the running back, and you live to fight another day.
Yeah,
yep.
And
that's in that
what you
environment
have to
too.
do.
That's
Yeah, at the environment. Good point.
In that environment, it just felt like, oh my God, here we go. This is like Columbus in like 06 or 07. Like the Paterno era was famous for like pick sixes and against Ohio State, and just first play of the game on the road in a huge game. And then what does the defense do? They come out, they get great pressure on Petrus, and we hold them to a field goal, which felt like a massive, massive win in that moment. And then, of course, the very next drive, we get the ball back, and we just marched down the field. I mean, absolutely marched down the field. 9-play drive, 75 yards, 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah, we had like 4 first downs. Like I think we had like 1 third down on that drive.
And a lot of completions that, again, the pass protection was pretty good. Clifford wasn't getting harassed. A little bit later in the game, obviously, he was with the big hit that put him out. But that drive, he just was standing there delivering. Guys were running wide open because Iowa was playing that soft cover 2 shell that we talked about. And we were just hitting Dotson, Washington, Smith, Lambert. All those guys were just kind of finding the creases. And
well, that's what I wanted to talk about, too, is once we put Roberson in, why did we not run any cross patterns across the middle? We did on that one play that Noah Strange dropped the ball on the outside, but that was Brenton Strange, yeah. That was a dumb play, or actually, sorry, it was the Noah Kane 4th down play that Roberson throws it to the outside. You look down the middle, 2 guys wide open.
Yep.
Like nobody
Wide
within
open.
20 yards of them in the middle of the field, past the first down marker. Like I think we didn't throw the ball in the interior at all, and I think that's just, part of that is sometimes, and like you're referencing that 4th down play, right, where we threw to
Did you mention that fourth down play where we threw to Lee in the flat?
Yeah, Lee, not
Yeah,
Kane,
yeah.
sorry.
And he made a hell of a catch, by the way.
Yeah, he did.
Luckily, that ball wasn't like popped up and returned for another interception. But anyway, I think sometimes with like the backup, we don't know, we'll never know. But is maybe the call in the huddle? That's where we're going, and we don't even want the quarterback to read, and we're just saying that's your guy. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, but I think you're absolutely right. And the point is, and we're here talking about it. We know just from watching Iowa, they're going to run that cover 2 shell. The corners are generally going to press coverage and then read and react. The way you beat that is in the middle of the field. And those first couple drives with Clifford in there, Washington and Dotson, and we were just running good routes, getting into the soft underbelly of the cover 2 zone and just hitting open receivers all game. The other thing too that we always talk about and sometimes complain about was we were running a bunch of bunch formation bubble screens to the boundary with Clifford in there, and they were largely successful.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't popping for big plays, but we were getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on them. And I think sometimes when teams line up a certain way, that's almost like a running play. If you have a quarterback that you trust can deliver a strike out to the slot receiver, it's basically like a running play. And if you think you can get 4 or 5 yards out of it, just keep doing it. And with Iowa, they don't like bringing that other safety down. So there were just a lot of formations where I think they read and reacted and said, let's just throw the bubble screen out there because we've got 3 receivers. They've got a corner, a safety over the top, and then a linebacker kind of halfway. It's a numbers game at that point. And they didn't really go back to that with Roberson. And again, who knows? Maybe it's the accuracy thing. They don't trust him throwing to the outside. Maybe he gets picked. I don't know, but it just seems like you got to have a package for your backup quarterback. Especially if it's a guy that's green, if it's a guy that can run. I think he's a pretty athletic looking kid, and you saw it on those scrambles. It just didn't seem like we had a plan for if Clifford goes down, we're gonna sort of transform our offense and do this or that to suit Roberson's needs. It just felt like we just put him in there and then tried to do the same stuff.
Yeah, and the only thing that we did to suit his needs was this absolutely asinine clapping bullshit to snap the ball, which I'll let you guys talk about that. But like 3 false starts in a row. Okay, now it's time to change something. Like that's embarrassing enough, but no, we just kept doing it into the second half after halftime. Like absolutely the most embarrassing thing I've seen in a very long time.
I think you covered it pretty good.
Yeah.
Enough said. All right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I mean, we can talk till we're blue in the face about all the mistakes made at Iowa, but we only lost by 3 on the road with a backup quarterback, and we scored 3 points after our starting quarterback went down.
And had 66 total yards.
Yeah,
in 2.5 quarters.
You can talk about how terrible it was, but in the end, with Clifford healthy, I think we beat any team in the country. I mean, any team in the Big Ten, I feel like we have a shot against. So let's move on. We'll talk about the AP poll, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. We'll just start. Georgia obviously beating Auburn pretty easily. It seemed like I didn't really get to watch much of the Auburn game. Kind of expected that a little bit. I was really hoping Auburn would pull the upset, but didn't really happen. Obviously Alabama losing, but somehow they get to stay at 5. Makes absolutely no sense.
The Alabama game, so I'll back up a step. I watched a little bit of the Georgia-Auburn game, just kind of flipping around, and it just seemed like Georgia was kind of toying with Auburn. They didn't get blown out. They kind of hung around, but just you have to have some offensive firepower. I think if you're going to beat Georgia, you're not gonna slug it out with Georgia in a sort of a tough running game, defensive game. The Alabama game, and I think you both watched the end of it as well.
Yeah,
just crazy. Because I've been railing on A&M, and I've been using this daisy chaining of games to make fun of them. Texas A&M beat Colorado 10-7. Minnesota beat Colorado 30-0 and held them to like 60 yards of offense in the whole game. The same Minnesota team that lost to Bowling Green, who just lost to Akron, who is they're ranked dead last in I think ESPN FPI or one of the predictive metrics has Akron as the worst team in FBS. They beat Bowling Green, who beat Minnesota, who absolutely boat raced Colorado, who almost beat Texas A&M, who beat Alabama. And the backup quarterback thing too, it's like that was a backup quarterback that beat Alabama, and he looked good, and it just pissed me off even more watching that happen. Now I guess the flip side is their starter went down in like week 2, so he's been getting a lot of in-game experience, and maybe Roberson would look good after 4 or 5 games, but I don't think would be capable of beating Alabama.
Nope.
But it wasn't, A&M didn't really fluke to that win. They got ahead, stayed ahead, then lost their lead. And then when the chips were down, the Calzada kid just marched them down the field.
Yeah, I thought that game was amazing. There's 3 absolutely amazing games yesterday. Obviously, we're talking about Alabama, Texas A&M first here. I think an overlooked thing in that game is the Alabama DB that got ejected in the first quarter for targeting. Can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I know he's their best DB. Does that change the outcome of the game if he's in there? Hard to say, but possibly. Does Calzada, my dad was calling him Calzone all night. Does he throw for 285 yards if their best DB is out there? It's hard to say, but I was impressed that A&M blew the lead and came back to win it at the end there. Also was not very impressed with Bryce Young, quarterback for Alabama. It was the first time I've really watched him play entirely. Was not really impressed with him. I thought he was just okay, especially for what Alabama has had at quarterback. But I will say, I think Brian Robinson Jr. is an amazing running back, and I would give almost anything to have him in blue and white. I thought he runs really hard. He finds the holes that aren't there, and picked up 147 yards on 24 carries. Obviously, Alabama is churning out running backs left and right, so maybe he wouldn't be good at Penn State. But I'm just saying, like, that kid's good.
Yeah, I watched most of the Alabama game. I don't know if having their DB in there would make a difference. Their defense looked absolutely atrocious. They were not getting pressure. There was guys open all over the field. So I really just think they have a bad defense. And I told you going into the 12th man was going to be a problem, and you guys
I was
just
completely
laughed at
wrong on
me,
that.
so.
I will fully take all the ridicule for that one. I said Alabama would win by 40. I actually meant that Texas A&M would score 40. I guess you guys just heard me wrong.
Yeah, the audio hasn't.
Yeah,
been
that was
great
my
lately.
audio cutting out there, not just Zach's. It was mine too.
All right, let's go, Brandon. There. But yeah, honestly, I said that it could be a game. I didn't expect a terrible Texas A&M team to put it to Alabama like that, and it was awesome. It made our loss a little bit better.
And it just goes to show you a couple things too. We sometimes, and the college football world is so split between haves and have-nots that I think it's justified that we think the way that we do. But so often we just look at an upcoming game, or we look at the records, or we look at what conference they're from, or what half of the division of the conference. But the beauty of college football is stuff like that happens, or your starting quarterback gets hurt, you look awful. A&M fans are probably like writing the season off, and then that happens. And even though it doesn't happen a lot, and it doesn't happen to everybody, and it obviously didn't happen to Penn State, it's just that type of thing that, like, you always have hope. There's always hope around the corner that something big will happen, or we'll go into Columbus and get the win. And it's just, I don't know. I think that's what makes college football awesome. The other thing, if I can really quickly, one thing we talked about on here before, I think is the playoffs and whether they're going to get expanded. And I think they probably will get expanded at some point. But like this Iowa loss, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'll be thinking about this one for years, probably. These games stick with you for us lunatic diehards. And there's no other sport like that, where this was the halfway point of the regular season. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I wanted to throw up in the second half of that game. It was so nerve-wracking. And you can't get that in the NFL. You just cannot. You can't get that in college basketball or the NBA. You can't get that in anything. And I think that's what makes college football the greatest sport we have because every game is a playoff game. And,
Yeah.
and you watch a game like that and you know everything's riding on the outcome of this game.
Yeah, you saw it a couple weeks ago, with that NC State versus Clemson game. Like that's honestly like the equivalent of, I don't know, any game the Jets play in where nobody really cares. But because of the college football playoff, it matters. That eliminated Clemson from being able to be in the college football playoff.
Your season's on the brink, essentially.
Yeah, you constantly have to be walking on eggshells. Another team that I think is still trash, Oklahoma. But holy crap, that was an exciting game. I watched damn near every snap of that one. That was just electric, start to finish. Maybe we'll get lucky and Clifford goes to the pros next year. We'll get Rattler as our quarterback in the transfer portal.
Yeah, this game was ridiculous. I mean, like you said, Jordan, I watched almost every single snap of this game, and it was I couldn't even keep my head on straight because it was just back and forth and back and forth. This was the game of the year so far, and like Zach said, this is one of those games in a good way that you're going to remember for a long time, and it's hard to remember those games in other sports. And thinking about Oklahoma being the number 6 team in the nation, down 28-7 to their rival in the Red River Shootout, bringing in a backup quarterback, finding a way to come back to win, bringing in Spencer Rattler then for a 2-point conversion play to tie the game, and Texas still should have won the game and found a way to lose. It's just an unbelievable game from start to finish.
Yeah, Texas is back being Texas.
Yeah, it was a classic Texas game.
I mean, I swear, I feel like that happens every year in the Red River Shootout. Like, I can't remember how many years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was when Baker was there. Same shit happened, like almost verbatim. Texas up big, blows it, and somehow Oklahoma wins at the end. But talk about a cool environment. I would absolutely love to go to the Cotton Bowl, the Texas State Fair right there in Dallas. The whole thing just looked awesome. The way the whole stadium is divided, burnt orange on one side, crimson and gray on the other. Like, just such a cool environment to be part of. I would absolutely love to go to that game sometime. And
you'll be in Texas colors for that, obviously.
Oh yeah, horns up all day.
It is really interesting though to think about. Like, imagine if every year we played Ohio State in Heinz Field, and we got 50% of the tickets, and they got 50% of the tickets, and we never got a Beaver Stadium whiteout against Ohio State, but we never had to go to Columbus.
I think I would take that trade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I just think it's one of those unique things about college football that like nobody thinks about, and we just kind of accept it. Like, how weird is that? That two of the biggest name brand programs in the country, and they don't visit each other's venues. It's just sort of interesting.
Yeah, it's not like the Iron Bowl where they still travel. Just kind of crazy to think about. So I'm all about it though. That was a great game. Just showed once again that Oklahoma's a complete fraud. In my opinion.
They just keep winning.
You talked up Texas every week on this podcast. Oklahoma goes in there, puts up 55 points with their backup quarterback, and they're still trash.
Yeah, they're still out of my top 25.
Also Maryland, who that team that you really loved. I don't think we really need to hit on this one, but Maryland, that team that you had in your top 25 this week, lost by 50 to Ohio State.
Oh, they were just a filler. Don't worry about that.
Okay, gotcha. And that's all we need to say about Ohio State, too. CJ Stroud looked really good, but, I mean, I think Maryland, like we talked about, Maryland is broken. They're done for the season. See you next year.
Yeah, done for the season, due for a win against Penn State.
They need a COVID breakout. Yeah, they just need a COVID breakout. Cancel the season.
Well, they're gonna beat us.
That's why we need a COVID breakout. Otherwise, they will beat us if Roberson's our quarterback.
Yeah, if Clifford doesn't play, like we're losing in College Park on a Friday night. Or sorry, Saturday. It's a Saturday game, right?
I think so.
It's Saturday. It's a Saturday game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the day after my wedding. So.
Yep.
I'm not even going to watch it. I don't want to be part of any of that shenanigans. But yeah, so the AP poll, once again, is a complete joke. All the rankings don't really matter at this point anyways, I guess. It just resume
Not until we get
builders.
to the heart of the season, yeah. I mean, like you said, with Maryland being a filler team, the bottom 5 teams just don't matter right now. And you can also just skip 2 to 10 because they're all the same team basically. So
Yeah. I mean,
It's
that's
all
what I
just
did.
filler.
I'll talk about my top 25. It's Georgia, and then I have nobody between 2 and 13.
I don't think it works like that.
Well, that's what I'm doing. So if they people can magically keep Alabama at 5 for losing to an unranked team, and Penn State, who lost to the legend number 2 team with a backup quarterback by 3 on the road, drops to 7, okay, then it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna make my own rules for it. I think if Georgia wins out, we should just skip the whole playoff and just crown them the national champion. In my opinion.
Hey, that's what I've been saying for years. There was a lot of years where the lack of a playoff maybe led to some problems as far as selecting a national champion, but there's been a lot of years in college football history where a playoff was not necessary, and somebody finished the year 12-0 and nobody else was undefeated, or had ran through a gauntlet schedule and was clearly the best team, and then you see it in other sports like baseball. There's the Dodgers and the Giants both won 105 plus games, and they're playing each other in the division round. And the winner will have to play the Braves, who won 88 in the championship series. It's just, I don't know. I love that college football rewards excellence, and I don't hate the 14 playoff, but I think with every additional team that you add to the playoffs, you're rewarding excellence less, and you're watering down the college football season, which I think is a 12-week, just majestic marathon that just delivers week in, week out. And if it's an 8 or a 12 team playoff, the Iowa game doesn't really matter. Alabama losing to Texas A&M doesn't matter. They just run the table, go 11-1, and they're in, no questions asked. Now, if you're Alabama, even if you run the table, is that good enough? You get to the SEC title game, you play Georgia. Now you have to win that. I don't know. It's just I think 4 is not a bad number. I wasn't even in favor of the playoffs, but I think 4 is not a bad number. I know that's not what we're talking about, but
I mean, it all ties in. I just think it's just such BS. Why? Who has Alabama beat? That they deserve to stay at 5.
I'm not saying they deserve to stay at 5.
I know.
I'm just saying I think with a 14 playoff, they are on the ropes a little bit.
Right. I agree.
Anybody that loses one game, unless you're in the ACC or the Pac, well, basically anybody in the SEC or the Big Ten that just has one loss, you can feel like you're still alive, but you also know you're sort of at the mercy of how things shake out.
Yeah. But I mean, realistically, we could see Alabama lose 2 or 3 more games with their defense the way it is. Other teams are going to be able to do what Texas A&M did to them. And I mean, we almost saw it with Old Miss was putting up points on them too. Now, granted, Old Miss has a terrible defense, absolutely atrocious.
Yes, so that was an interesting takeaway that I had, the juxtaposition of the Ole Miss game and the Bama game, where you had Bama's defense just getting shredded, and then you see what Ole Miss was able to do on offense against what we think is a decent Arkansas team. But then recall last week, Ole Miss couldn't do anything against Alabama, and they had 21 points, but I think it was 2 garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah,
so it's just kind of Alabama, either Ole Miss was really off in the Alabama game, or the Bama defense was really off in the Texas A&M game. But something, if you had told me if Bama hadn't played Ole Miss yet, and I watched last week and saw Ole Miss put up 52, and I saw Alabama get torched by Texas A&M, I'd say, holy crap, Ole Miss is going to slaughter them. But they already played, and it definitely didn't happen. So again, it's just sort of that you never know any week in these big conferences, and playing at home versus playing on the road is huge. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're lowly, the lowest teams in the major conferences, or if you're Alabama. Obviously, playing in the friendly confines of Tuscaloosa is big, because then they go on the road to an admittedly pretty tough environment. Actually, a really awesome environment. I think Texas A&M is when they're when they're amped up, when they have a good team, that stadium is obviously huge, and just the setting of all those guys wearing the brown uniform, and just a cool place. But it definitely had an effect on them because they frankly played pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think I honestly like we can speculate what's going to happen later on here in the season, but yeah, that Auburn team, I mean, they hung around with Georgia a little bit. I think, come Iron Bowl, you never know what's going to happen in that game. So you could easily see Alabama, not playing as dominant as they always do, and they also still have to play Arkansas. They still have to play Mississippi State, who's can prove that they can win games. So
Still have
I
to
think
play the one team in the SEC West that we somehow haven't talked about yet,
Kentucky.
which is that's in the East there.
Oh,
Remember,
shit.
UK, United Kingdom to the East.
Right.
The Louisiana State Bayou Bengals. And
Coach Georgia gone.
how crazy college football can be, especially the blue blood programs, where a coach can win a national title and 2 years later, not even 2 full seasons, because we're only halfway through the season and they're already talking about, is he gone? I mean, we're literally, I mean, last year they didn't even play 12. He probably played 10 games last. We're like 16 games after his national title game win, and they're talking about canning him. It's nuts.
It's college football, baby.
Yeah,
I love it.
Who do you go get if you're LSU? And this is what we always, I think
James
Jordan
Franklin.
and I have. Yeah, is he going to be on the? He's already his bag's already packed for USC. They're going to have to look elsewhere. But it's always a question of, these questions aren't, if you're just saying I want to get rid of this guy, you're doing it wrong. The question is, who are you going to go get? You have to answer that question before you even think about whether you want the current guy gone. And if you're LSU, who do you go get? I mean, who wants to follow up a guy that wins a national title and gets 2 seasons after that? Not a lot of patience.
You win a national title at Penn State, you're going to be there for like 60 years, as we've seen. So, yeah, I don't know. It's madness. I think there's something to be said about keeping a coach, even if he has 1 or 2 bad seasons, for stability purposes. I mean, people love to shit on Harbaugh, but he has brought stability back to Michigan.
Yeah,
he absolutely has.
You can't. You could never fire Harbaugh. I mean, that's...
Would you take Harbaugh over Brady Hoke or Rich Rod? Obviously, yes. But that's who you could be replacing him with. Like,
yeah,
you don't know. So
even if he never beats Ohio State, how do you get rid of him? Right? Like, you're pretty much guaranteed to go. They had a crazy COVID year last year, just like Penn State did, that I don't really put much stock in. But he's going to go 9-3 every year. In a good year, 10-2, or maybe 11-1. Maybe he just can't beat Ohio State for some reason. But this year, they get him in Ann Arbor. So maybe this is the year. I don't know. I hate to be the.
You want to talk about like Michigan, like their god, Bo Schembechler. What was his record against Ohio State? Like barely 500. Like I'm saying, like
the hidden secret is Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes did nothing but beat up on a bunch of weak Big Ten. It was the little 2 in the Big 8, and then they played USC and UCLA and Stanford in the Rose Bowl and got beat every year. That's
exactly.
That's Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes. Nobody wants to admit that, but
that's what I mean. Like, so, like, you cannot fire a 9-win coach. You cannot do that. I've been hard on Franklin, but I've seen the light. I've seen what happens when you fire a 9-win coach. You end up like irrelevant in Nebraska, and you're just screwed. You're screwed. Nebraska, it will take decades before Nebraska becomes, if they ever come back. Honestly.
Well, they'll never be back. They'll never be back to what they were. They can't. It's just a question of geography. But I think they could still be a solid program again. And I think, frankly, the Big Ten kind of needs them to be, if they're not going to realign the divisions.
Like, holy crap, can somebody other than Wisconsin
and Iowa do something? Like,
have a pulse? Like, I don't know. Maybe we get lucky and Notre Dame joins the Big Ten in a few years.
I don't know if I'd consider that being lucky.
Great for the brand. We get an overrated team ranked early that somebody from the East can beat and have on the resume.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's I feel a lot better after ranting a little bit. So I think it helped we took, a 2-day pause to let it blow over a little bit. But
yeah, this would have been wild on like Saturday night at 10 p.m.
Maybe we should just start recording right after the game. So
make sure you put the explicit one on that.
We'll see. I think we're going to do the rankings here soon, and it's kind of a mess. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say one of the also-rans in the Big Ten West beats Iowa.
Oh, I agree.
And it may be next week.
They play Nebraska.
They play Purdue, but it is at home. But they have Nebraska away, I think, and they definitely have Wisconsin away. And none of those teams are very good, but Nebraska has, and I've been beating the drum for Nebraska. They have a pulse. They have been showing signs of life. They should have beaten. I don't know. One game we didn't really talk about was Michigan. They were in prime. Won that game again. They were in prime position to beat Michigan, and they just keep making crucial mistakes at just the wrong moment. So they're there, and again, you get to November in college football, and some of the teams just pack it in. I think we talked about Maryland as a team we think maybe just starts to pack it in. Nebraska appears to be a team that doesn't have a whole lot to play for, but they're still right there. But anyway, the point being, I just don't think Iowa's that good. And, it's a lot of sour grapes, I suppose. But I think if you're an honest Iowa fan that's been around and seen a lot of Iowa teams, you have to look at the game Saturday and be like, are we really that great? Or are we basically what we always are, maybe a little bit stingier on defense? And we got pretty fortunate that the other team's starting quarterback, who was gashing us to the tune of 150 yards through a quarter and a half, got hurt. I don't see what they have on offense.
Yeah, Petrus is garbage.
He couldn't even run the ball. He couldn't even run the ball.
Tyler Goodson had 25. He had 25 carries for 88 yards, for an average of 3.5, and he had a 20-yard run. So the other 24 carries were 68 yards, which isn't even 3 yards a carry. He got bottled up. Ivory Kelly Martin had 5 for 15. Frankly, it was their white receivers that beat us. And I will tip my cap. The play of the game was that long touchdown pass to Reganey.
Perfect.
And it was a beautifully designed play. And they had been teasing that outside zone all game. Just outside zone. And they bootleg off of it, and just a great route concept, because the defensive backs are just seeing that outside zone all game, and the receivers are either
they're also exhausted.
They're exhausted because they're on the field the whole time, and just a wide open guy too. I mean, Petrus pretty much could have there's no way he misses that throw. And
Roberson could have even hit that.
I was going to say the same thing.
But I will, if we're going to complain a little bit, I will say the fact that they reviewed that touchdown catch and run that Charlie Jones had, where he's holding the ball in his left hand that's out of bounds at 2, and hits the pylon with his right hand that doesn't have the ball, and they call that a touchdown. It's just
so dumb,
unbelievable. I mean, I think they were going to
have
John O'Neill, and you see that face, and you're like, I know that guy.
Yeah, it's bad whenever an entire fan base knows an official's full name. That's the only official that I could name in college football.
We know his home address too. Should we put it? I'm just kidding.
Put it in the comments.
Oh man, but I mean, they get the ball in the 1. Do they probably punch it in there? Yeah,
no, we would probably hold them to a field goal.
I don't know, but I mean,
the way our defense
the thing is, why? My complaint is why do we even have replay? They don't even get it right half the time. It's like I'd rather just keep playing. I mean, if you're gonna look at that, if you're gonna review that and say, yep, the ball crossed the goal line inside of the pylon, and one of the Klatt or Gus Johnson was saying, you get the extended, you get the pylon extended. You can actually cross the plane of the goal line on the out of bounds
Outside.
side of the pylon.
As long as you're touching a part of your body's touching the pylon. Yes. But
That's not true. When you touch the pylon,
You're out of bounds.
you're out of bounds. And the ball was in his left hand.
exactly. Yeah.
Like the ball was over you see it all the time when, if you exclude the pylon, like a guy dives for the first down marker while he's going out of bounds. They don't mark it where the ball lands out of bounds. They mark it where the ball crossed the plane of the And so he hits the pylon. The ball is tucked to his body. He's clearly at, maybe it's like the half-yard line. It's definitely not in. I still also don't know how they don't have like a camera angle that is looking perfectly down the goal line. It's kind of crazy how they don't have that, but
they do. They have a camera in the pylon.
Yeah,
now.
but it's.
I don't think Fox does. I think only
looking,
ESPN does that, don't they?
It's looking back it's looking back towards the middle of the field. It's not looking in and out down the goal line.
Just put a camera like directly
just make
above
the whole pylon
pylon.
a camera.
No, just put a camera directly on a line directly above the pylon. Just looks directly down on it. The whole thing is just stupid.
Yeah.
I hate it, but whatever. So let's just go through top 25. I already told you I don't have anybody after Georgia till 11. And then I have Penn State. Or actually, sorry, I have Cincinnati at 11. And then, I didn't really put any thought into this, to be honest, because I was just pissed. So I'll just do it off the top of my head. Cincinnati at 11. 12, we'll go Coastal Carolina. 13, Wake Forest. They still won this weekend. Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. And the rest are all garbage teams. And Oklahoma and Iowa are out of the top 25. That's what I got.
Okay. Well, I'll go because I actually have a top 25, because I like to do this. So at 26, just on the outside, the Roadrunners from UTSA. Wanted to put them in, couldn't. 25, Auburn, barely, mainly just to keep Penn State looking good, in all honesty. 24, San Diego State, new to my rankings. 23, BYU, a game that we all called on this podcast that they would have a lot of trouble with Boise, and they lost, but they stay in at 23. 22, NC State. 21, Florida. 20, Texas A&M. Like Zach said, rewarding a huge win, even though I think they're kind of trash. They found a way to win, and they're 4-2, so I don't feel like 20 is too super high for them. 19, Arkansas. 18, Wake Forest, who is still absolute trash, but they're 6-0. Same with SMU. How did SMU almost lose to Navy? And they're number 17. It just okay. I'm roasting my own top 25 here. 16, Arizona State found a good win over Stanford. 15, Ole Miss. 14, Notre Dame, who almost lost in Blacksburg but survived. 13, Oregon. 12, Oklahoma State, who I wanted to move up on their bye week. They were glad that they had a bye this week, but I'm still not sold on them yet. 11, Coastal Carolina. Love McCall. Love Coastal Carolina. Don't care that they're trash. I'm going to keep them right around 10 all season. Number 10, Alabama. Number 9, Penn State. Number 8, Kentucky. Number 7, Michigan State. 6, Oklahoma. 5, Michigan. 4, Cincinnati. 3, the Ohio State University. Number 2, Iowa. And number 1 by a huge margin is Georgia. That's mine.
Hate it.
Well, I hate you, so it's all good.
All right, sweet.
Yeah, this was a really tough week to pick. I can't begrudge Jordan for going the route he did, but ultimately you got to put somebody next to the numbers. So I'll start. I have Baylor at 25. I've got the San Diego State Aztecs at 24. I've got SMU at 23. I think Devin made a good comment. I think if you're Cincinnati, you were probably chewing your fingernails off watching that one, because you need SMU to stay ranked, because that's the only game you have left on the schedule that anybody's going to even pay any attention to. If SMU can stay undefeated, it gives them a bit of a shot at staying in the limelight. So we'll see if they're capable of doing that, because Navy's not very good this year. NC State, I've got at 22, just kind of hanging out there with that Clemson win and not a whole lot else going on. I've got Florida at 21. I think the shine is off them a little bit. Just with Bama losing, I think their claim to fame was, well, we hung tough with Bama, and now we know Bama isn't the 85 Bears, so I'm not going to give you that much credit for a loss. Coastal Carolina at 20. I'm just sort of arbitrarily putting them at 20 for the rest of the year because I know they're not going to lose, but they don't really deserve to be any higher.
Oh, they're good.
Well,
McCall to Lively, love it.
Unfortunately,
I watched most of that game on Thursday. I know they're trash, but they're fun to watch.
I'm sure they're not trash, but
No, they are. They kind of struggled with Arkansas State, who might be, other than UConn, might be the worst team in college football. But they held them to 18 yards on 17 rush attempts. So I mean, that's pretty good defense.
You heard it there, folks. I had forgot to tune into the Coastal Carolina Arkansas State game.
That was what we were recording last week's podcast. It was just on.
It was the
I just
other
think
Thursday night game.
Yeah,
and unfortunately for them, as a member of the, I guess, the Sun Belt Conference,
they are. Yeah,
we're not going to really find out about them either because they're probably arbitrarily locked into the Dollar General Bowl, and they're going to play like the fourth best team from the MAC. So, it'd be nice. It would be nice to see them play somebody with a pulse for a bowl game, but I don't think it's going to happen. But getting back to the top 25, I've got BYU at 19. They definitely have to drop after the loss to a not vintage Boise team, but it is a little unfortunate that they've got the quarterback situation in flux. I've got Arizona State at 18, and I think at this point, Arizona State is your Pac-12 team to beat, which is crazy. The Fighting Herm Edwards. We'll see if they can keep the momentum going, but a big win over a Stanford team that we just saw beat Oregon. I've got Arkansas at 17. Not really sold on them. I think the shine's coming off a little bit, but they do have a couple quality wins that you have to give them some credit for. I've got Wake Forest at 16. Not really going to argue with Devin. I don't think there's a whole lot there to Wake Forest, but they are finding ways to win close games, which is something, I guess. You don't want to be in a close game against Syracuse, but at least they came out on the right side of it. I've got Notre Dame at 15. This is another interesting one to watch, not because of Notre Dame, but because of Cincinnati. They need two things to happen. They need SMU to keep winning, like we talked about earlier, and they need Notre Dame to finish 10-2 or 11-1. And the game in Blacksburg was probably one of the more challenging games left on Notre Dame's schedule. Notre Dame typically plays a pretty tough schedule. This year with USC being down and with Stanford being kind of a iffy team, there really aren't a lot of tough games left on Notre Dame's schedule if you look ahead. So it's not inconceivable that Notre Dame beats a couple ACC teams, beats at USC and beats Stanford and finishes 11-1, which would be a huge boost for Cincinnati. So that's something to keep an eye on. I've got Texas A&M all the way up to 14. One thing I've consistently said is I'm willing to look past teams with an extra loss if they've got a win that nobody else around them has. And frankly, there's nobody in this part of the rankings that has a win like beating Alabama. I've got 13 Ole Miss. I've got Oregon at 12. They lost their starting running back for the remainder of the season, CJ Verdell, who had a huge game at Ohio State. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of start to crumble a little bit. Although there's really nobody in the Pac-12 North, I fully expect that they would win the Pac-12 North. Oklahoma State at 11. They didn't play, which is probably good this week with all the craziness going on. Kentucky at 10. Big win over LSU. Back-to-back wins for Kentucky over LSU this week and Florida the week before. Probably something they've never done before. 2 wins of that stature in a row. Now they got Georgia next week. We'll see if the Cinderella story is over. I hope Kentucky can keep it close. It should be a good game, but I got to think Georgia comes out. I've got Michigan State at 9. I'm just not sold on Sparty. I think they haven't really met a tough enough challenge yet for us to know fully whether they're for real or not. But that's obviously the rubber's going to hit the road soon because they've got Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State all yet to play. I've got Bama down to 8. I'm not willing to write them off as much as Jordan is, but I do think the drop probably wasn't as steep as it should have been, considering the struggles that A&M has had this year. But again, it's kind of all in front of them. If they run the table, they're 11-1. They're going to play Georgia in the SEC title game, and then at that point, it's pick your poison if you're an SEC hater, because you either you root for Georgia to go 12-0 and to go undefeated and then beat Bama, or does Bama beat Georgia and then they both have one loss and maybe they both get in? That's something to keep an eye on. Then I've got Ohio State at 7. I think, frankly, if you were asking me to rank the teams based on how good they are right now or where I think they finish, I would have Ohio State a lot higher. Unfortunately, I think they're kind of rounding into form. Way too many people were writing them off for dead after a week 2 loss. You got to keep in mind how young this team is, breaking in a brand new quarterback. I just think you'd rather lose early and then roll into form like they are right now. I've got Penn State at 6. I'm not willing to drop a team very far for losing a true road game against a top 4 team on the road with their backup quarterback. I've got Michigan at 5. Still not completely sold on Michigan, but they're winning, and God damn it, can they run the ball? And that's something that I'm just desperate to see. So maybe I allow that to color my judgment of them. But Oklahoma at 4, don't feel great about this, but they just keep winning, and I think they've got enough offense that they're just going to be a handful for anybody they play. But they've got bad enough defense that they're going to let a lot of teams in the games. Cincinnati at 3, Iowa 2, Georgia 1. I don't think Iowa is deserving of 2, and I don't think Cincy is deserving of 3, and I don't think Oklahoma's deserving of 4.
Or Michigan's deserving of 5.
And I don't think Michigan's deserving of 5. But somebody has to go there. None of them have lost, and they've played at least solid to good schedules. So it's just kind of like, who do you put there? The thing to watch for both, and the only reason I felt comfortable putting Iowa 2 and Cincinnati 3 is their schedules going forward are going to make it really hard for them to stay there without just boat racing a bunch of teams. Because, Ohio State, for instance, or Penn State, they each have 1 loss. In 2 weeks, Penn State plays Ohio State. Whoever wins that game, I will have no problem putting them ahead of Iowa, because I think there would be either one of them is superior to Iowa in every way and will have a massive, massive win that would be more valuable to me, assuming Clifford plays. If Ohio State beats Penn State with Roberson, I'm not going to give them too much credit for that. But assuming Clifford plays, whoever wins that game, I think is far more deserving of a higher ranking than Iowa. So it's one of those things where Iowa and Cincy don't have a lot of tough games left, but it's a double-edged sword, because if other teams are stacking up big wins, it's going to make it harder to justify keeping Iowa and Cincy ahead of them. And maybe even Oklahoma, for that matter. So that's my top 25.
I like it. So give me 1 sec. I'm putting together a real top 25 for you guys. So keep talking a little bit, and then I'll drop some knowledge on you.
We gonna learn today?
I guess so. Okay, I'm ready. So first team out, I have Old Miss at 26. 25.
You're off to a great start.
So I had them at 13. Devin had them at...
I had them at 15.
25, I have Army. 24, I have UNC. 23.
UNC is trash.
Oh, God. Basketball, Jordan, basketball doesn't start for a couple weeks. And just so you're aware, Roy Williams is retired. So I don't know if UNC would be that high in basketball anyway. But...
I hope you have Virginia Tech ahead of UNC, because Virginia Tech beat UNC.
Correction. Not UNC, NC State.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Sorry about the confusion. 24 is NC State. 23 is Arizona State. 22, I got Notre Dame. 21, Houston. 20, UTEP. 19, Bama. And then
good thing they were able to clock in 1 step ahead of UTEP.
UTEP has that big win over New Mexico State, so that's good.
Okay. The only 2-loss team I have in my top 25, 18, I got Texas. 17, I got BYU. 16, Baylor. 15, The Ohio State University. 14, Oregon. 13, Penn State. 12, Oklahoma. 11
Oh man,
Iowa.
that was a big jump for Oklahoma from not ranked to 12.
Well, they had a quality win against a top 20 Texas team, so 11 Iowa, 10 UTSA, go Roadrunners, undefeated still. 9 San Diego State, 8 Wake Forest, 7 SMU, 5 Oklahoma State, 4 Cincy, 3 Kentucky, 2 Michigan, and 1 Georgia. I think I missed Michigan State somewhere.
Yes, you did. That's fine. They don't need ranked either. Just put them down there.
Let's see. Who do I want to kick out of here?
Probably your number 25 team.
Nah. I had somebody in here that doesn't belong. I don't know.
That would be Army or UTEP. Either one of them do not belong. Or really UTSA in your top 10. But
Nah,
that's
fuck
cool
it. We'll
too.
kick Oklahoma out. Michigan State's in. Oklahoma's back to 27. That's what I got.
Okay.
So I pretty much went by record. So I put all the undefeated teams where they belong. That's how it should be. Bama's lucky that they're even in the top 25, in my opinion. But I do think Kentucky's going to be good. So I can't wait for that game this week. That's about the only good game this week. But we'll cover that later in the week because we don't have a Penn State game to cover. So, you guys got anything else?
No, I was hoping that Zach would get some crickets for whenever your top 25 was done. There we go.
Got some coyotes howling in the background. Too.
That's perfect for Jordan's top 25.
And this is my top 25. All right. So if you guys don't have anything else, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. Thanks for watching or listening, however you're viewing us, and we'll see you later this week.